Now, what can we learn from Kafka? Whether you're a writer, artist, or even a reader, Kafka provides some amazing lessons for you. Lesson 1. Failure can be beautiful. In all Kafka's works, failure is the most dominant theme. The only exception is America, where the protagonist doesn't die by the end. If one has to characterize Kafka's works, it would be this: he was a beautiful artist of mourning and grief. His stories are cries and sobs of human condition. He was a beautiful cry artist who sobbed at every failure, who told stories of failure. Perhaps he was the best artist of reality. Failure, despite being seen as negative, it's not always bad. In fact, our evolution is only possible when our genes make mistakes. Through mutation, we die, but we also survive. So every failure has either the seeds for future success, or if not, it can be a moment of beauty. In the same way, tragedies can be beautifully told and enjoyed. In fact, if one has to characterize Kafka's own life, on the surface, it's a failure. He didn't get married despite several attempts, he was never happy about his work, and never finished any of his novels. He wasn't famous or financially successful during his lifetime, but there's beauty in those failures. Because to win, one has to give his own life. Kafka did. His failure and his personal life gave inspirations to millions of people who found their stifled voices in his writing. So there is beauty to be found in failure. Lesson 2. Life is a series of interruptions. Evil is whatever distracts. We have dreams, we wait for the right moment, we think the condition is right to start our project. We think one day we can start doing something. Kafka had the same feelings. He had a desk job at an insurance company and worked long hours. Kafka writes in his diaries, "Since I'm nothing but literature and can and want to be nothing else, my job will never take possession of me. It may, however, shatter me completely, and this is by no means a remote possibility." His day job was a hindrance because he was never free enough to dedicate more time on his writing. He didn't finish any of his novels. He even hated the ending of the Metamorphosis. He says he could have written it much better if it wasn't because of his business trips. He was constantly interrupted. But he also had the habit of just leaving his novels unfinished, like a promiscuous person going through many relationships and breakups. If you have not finished any of Kafka's novels, don't feel bad because he never completed them in the first place. So the lesson here is to ride through life's endless interruptions and find moments you can sail. Use the little moment you get to write your next short story. Don't wait for a perfect condition because there is never a perfect time to do anything. Lesson 3. Life is absurd. The meaning of life is that it stops. If there's one thing that ties all Kafka's writing, it's the absurdities of modern life. There are so many moments in the stories of his characters getting lost in the illogical and irrational maze of legal system or some other entanglements. You get the feeling that nothing makes sense. That's precisely the point. We may think life has a purpose. We may think we're going somewhere. We may think that things we do have meaning. But if you stand back and assess things more clearly, you may find that not everything makes sense. Not everything has meaning. Not everything happens for a reason. Sometimes good things or bad things just happen. Kafka depicts these moments of life so beautifully and so brutally. One can see that in Kafka's writing, life is for the most part absurd, irrational, and has no inherent meaning. All we can do is just accept its meaninglessness and absurdities. Just the mere acceptance of it may liberate us from our own insistence on giving everything a meaning. Absurdities of lives are normal human condition. Accepting this fact may give us a breathing space to enjoy it more and to be good to others. Lesson 4. We're all alone. One of the most heartbreaking stories of Kafka is the Metamorphosis and how lonely is Gregor once he is transformed into an animal. His family slowly gets tired of him and wants him dead. Their compassion can only go so far. When they see him not useful in the house as he no longer brings food on the table, he also causes their tenant to flee the house. Their compassion slowly turns to disgust. Gregor spent his adult life providing for his family. That was his role. The lesson here is that ultimately we are alone. Understand it and don't feel sorry for yourself when others abandon you. In fact, lower your expectations of anything you do and understand that you won't be rewarded for all your deeds. In all Kafka's stories, lonely protagonists battling to be accepted by a group, community, or authority, and they fail. Life is a lonesome journey, so be useful to others but don't expect too much. No matter how hard you worked or how much you sacrificed your life for others, don't always expect to be rewarded. Sometimes an individual can be fragile like a dandelion seed at the mercy of wind. We should understand that loneliness is constant and belonging is temporary. Lesson 5. Life is full of ironies. Kafka's friend Max Brod tells us that they would laugh aloud when reading the beginning of the trial when Joseph K. is arrested for God knows what crime. Both the Metamorphosis and the trial can be read as dark comedies. In The Castle too, some of the events are so illogical and comically stupid that you can't help but laugh. In the face of utter failure, all we can do is laugh. Life is full of ironies. There are some big ironies about modern life, for example. Food is supposed to keep us alive, but in some rich countries, there is so much food that it has become a major killer through obesity-related illnesses. Modernity had promised everyone more free time, but people in affluent countries are the busiest of all. Justice system was supposed to protect the weak, but it has become like a spider web that only catches the weak, while the strong can tear through. Gregor Samsa spent his entire life providing for his family, and they were the first who wanted him dead. Kafka tells us that in the face of life's terrible ironies, we might as well laugh at it. If you have kids, don't put too much pressure on them like Kafka's father did to Kafka. If you pester your kids too much and give them a hard time, you might produce another Kafka. Now that is a Kafkaesque irony. Lesson 6. You can't know everything. Western civilization or modernity is predicated on the idea that through science we can know everything. In other words, there is an absolute truth that we can discover. This pursuit is at the heart of Kafka's stories. In the trial, Joseph K. desperately tries to find his crime, but fails. In The Castle, K. puts a lot of effort to find the man who requested his service, but fails. In a way, Kafka tells us that knowledge is never absolute, it's always relative. Even our language is just an approximation. Kafka says, quote, "All language is but a poor translation." The same can be said about art. No language, science, or art can capture reality as it is. No language is able to express the real feelings of an individual. Nowadays, we can say that not only knowing everything is not possible, but it may not even be desirable. We live in a world where we're sometimes overwhelmed by too much information and knowledge that we shut ourselves to have a moment of respite. Kafka shows that no matter how much you try, you cannot know everything. Quote, "I cannot make you understand. I cannot make anyone understand what's happening inside me. I cannot even explain it to myself." Lesson 7. Human being is not sacred. In The Metamorphosis, Kafka shows us that human life is pretty ordinary. He challenges us to question the traditional notion of human created by God or a special creature of God. Gregor Samsa turns into a disgusting insect or a vermin. This is more in keeping in how evolution sees humans as just another species among millions of other species. In fact, sometimes the insect is translated as cockroach. In evolutionary history, cockroaches are the most successful animals. They have existed for 250 million years, which predates the dinosaurs, and they are still going strongly. It's only us humans who see ourselves as somewhat special or even sacred. Kafka questions such myth. Our culture has given us the sacred notion of human life. These egocentric views most likely imposed on us or taught to us by society, but in reality we are bound by our own body that nature has provided us. Gregor Samsa has a human mind but an animal body. That's what we are. We are not special or divine, so let's not treat ourselves as such. And we are perfectly fine to be ordinary because there's so much beauty in the ordinary. Lesson 8. Don't give up the fight. One of the most interesting things about Kafka's heroes is that despite the odds being stacked against them, they never give up. As readers, we see that they have no chance in such brutal circumstances, but none of them give up. They continue the struggles to the very end. In Hunger Artist, the artist starves himself to death. In The Metamorphosis, Gregor too starves himself to death. Both refuse to eat, which show their determination and doggedness. In The Trial and The Castle, the protagonists never stop their pursuit until they are killed. The authorities or the regimes or the powerful tire them down, wear them down, create millions of obstacles. Bureaucracy is like a maze. In the past, kings used to discipline people with brute force through physical torture. But in modern world, authorities and companies have created walls around them, which we call bureaucracy or institutions, as obstacles. Bureaucracy seems almost inevitable in modern world. We see governments and companies have set up call centers or computerized systems that sometimes it feels that you are treated like zoo animals, all fenced up in a small maze and labyrinth. Kafka shows us that if our notion of human being is a myth and illusion, so is the power once we penetrate it. In other words, nothing lasts forever. Despite his pessimism, Kafka wasn't a defeatist. Defeatists don't write or tell stories, they do nothing. Kafka wrote about it consistently until his very last breath. So don't give up the fight for the individual. Authorities and companies have their resources, but individuals have their wit and dogged persistence. Lesson 9. Alienation is universal. One of the most prevalent themes of Kafka's writing is alienation. Individuals are alienated from their families, communities, and even from themselves. His characters are distancing themselves from others, or sometimes forced to isolation. Alienation is not a modern invention, but modernity made it universal. Even powerful people are alienated. In recent months, we heard about the British royal family and how individuals felt excluded and alienated. In pre-modern world, most humans were attached to a piece of land, either through ownership or through slavery or through peasantry. In today's world, most of us don't have any attachment to land or farming. Most of us don't know where our food is coming from. We don't really care. Most of us. What modernity did to us to turn us into product. We have become like commodities. Our information is used as product and sold by social media companies. We track our own very movement every day and pass that information to these giant media companies to use it to sell us products or sometimes use to manipulate us in some way. Modern life to some extent resembles a zoo. Safer, relatively more comfortable, but at the same time there are rules and boundaries. Kafka was one of the first writers to make alienation central in his writing. Lesson 10. Tell stories. Despite all his pessimism, doom and gloom in Kafka's writing, he didn't resign. Instead, he used every free hour of his time to write and tell stories. He dedicated his life to the art of storytelling. One of the most haunting aspects of Kafka is his powerful voice. So having a voice is one of the best things you can have. It's in a way a debt to your community, society to tell your stories and those around you. Kafka spent years perfecting his craft and he was never happy about it. The reason none of his novels were given any proper ending was because Kafka was still honing his craft. He was diligent, he wanted more precision in his writing. On the one hand, Kafka dedicated his life to literature and storytelling, but on the other hand, he found writing and storytelling as his savior from the monotony of life and work. It was his craft, but also his escape. It was his goal, but also his hobby. He was artistic, but also found the art itself his cure, his healing. So Kafka teaches us that despite the fact that life has no inherent meaning, is full of failures, obstacles, all you can do is tell stories. Tell great stories, tell your stories, tell stories, and if you fail, fail beautifully in the very act of telling your stories.